Come and join us for the first week of meditation on the oral instructions of Mahamudra. And in this week, we'll be focusing on deepening our instructions on the stage of the path to enlightenment, Lam Rim, and in particular, developing the realization of renunciation. What is this realization, this mind of renunciation? Renunciation is a mind that seeks happiness and peace within rather than outside in our possessions and our social life and our reputation, things like this. We seek happiness within. The meditations we are looking at during this retreat are very fulfilling, deepening, grounding, and will give us a great feeling of inner peace, happiness, contentment, and joy. But I'd like to talk a little bit more precisely about this retreat because it's really special, really interesting. We'll be looking at the meditations contained within the initial scope and the intermediate scope of Lam Rim. We'll be looking at the meditations on the Four Noble Truths, the very grounding meditations on preciousness of our human life and our mortality, our death and impermanence, and going for refuge, as well as the meditations on karma. And we'll be looking at the meditations contained in this diagram, the Wheel of Life. This will be a point of reference throughout the retreat. This describes the process of our own samsara, our own wheel of suffering. And it describes how it evolves. It's got several hubs. You see in the very center are symbolized the three mental poisons of ignorance and desirous attachment and anger, which are the very root of our own samsara, our cycle of suffering, especially ignorance. The second cycle is the process by which we take rebirth. This is the intermediate state between one life and the next. And in this part of the this rim of the diagram, it's the actual places and situations we end up in once we have taken rebirth. The final rim of the diagram describes the actual 12 links of dependent origination for the evolution of samsara. It's the actual mechanism of samsara. So we're going to be referring to these throughout the retreat as a sort of anchor point. These contain all of Buddha's teachings, really special, really powerful. And one thing that you will see very vividly is all of the happinesses and sufferings and life and existence we have within the wheel of samsara. It's all held in the jaws of the Lord of Death. And this is the point. Wherever we live in samsara, wherever we are born, and whatever we achieve in samsara, eventually we'll lose it. We will die. We will move on to our next life, leaving all our wealth and our possessions and our achievements behind. Everybody in samsara, from the highest to the lowest, dies and leaves all that behind. Therefore, the happiness we find in samsara is by nature ephemeral and illusory, can give us no real satisfaction. As Steve Jobs once said, there is no point being the richest person in the graveyard. And that's so true. There's two types of happiness. There's the happiness we can find in samsara, which is ephemeral and passes swiftly. And there's the happiness outside of samsara. We leave the wheel and we find the happiness outside of samsara, the happiness of liberation, which is symbolized by this moon. And Buddha is here pointing at this moon. He is saying, I left the wheel of samsara and I am pointing you towards the happiness that is outside of samsara. And this is essentially what we are going to be meditating on during the week. We are going to be meditating on developing the wish to enjoy the happiness that is outside of samsara, rather than just remaining trapped within this mindless cycle. Come and join us. Come and participate in this retreat. It's going to be truly wonderful.